welcome to another episode of the Rolf Seb Show. It's our second episode directly from the Metaverse, and we're having another nerd topic today. It's all about trends, industry trends.
I'm absolutely thrilled to announce two great gentlemen. They have their own podcast where we were also invited. I'm really happy to have both today here, Sven, our technology strategist at SAP, and Andreas, who, from my point of view, is a really corporate person because he contains two jobs. One is he is in charge of the Sales Cloud, and he's also a mentor of the startup SAP IO. So I'm really thrilled to announce that both gentlemen are here today in the Metaverse. So please welcome Sven and Andreas. Come on.
Ooh, hey, welcome everybody.
Welcome here. I'm really happy to have you both here, especially after we were already invited at your podcast. I'm really happy that you were able to join our podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you really for having us. It's great to be in the Metaverse.
I must say it's really, and I really like today's topic, specifically that I know Seb has tons of questions, as we have the right nerds together, and Seb always likes to discuss this.
Yeah.
So I think you want to start kicking off with your first question, Seb?
Yes, of course. So you're not only the guys who are doing the podcast, you're not only in your day-to-day jobs, you're also part of the CX-led intelligence team at SAP. Yeah. Can you give us a little insight? What is it, and what is it for, and what are you guys doing there?
Yeah. So should I start with that, because that's the?
Yeah, I guess you're part of the CX team. I'm not.
Don't say you're not intelligent.
Sorry, I also just learned that actually our complete group is actually no longer called just CX, but we are actually industries and CX, right?
That's true.
But inside of the SAP Industries and CX group, basically, which is a relatively big group, a few hundred people, there's a small team called Intelligence and Incubation, which I'm basically part of. And as part of this little team, we explore interesting incubations. So we basically create really new projects and try to bring them to the market. Among them is NFT management. We have our re-commerce kind of sustainability solution, and also a lot of Gen AI and assistants, basically, that will make our SAP CX offerings smarter and more intelligent, basically. So that's me.
Okay.
And
yeah,
Andreas, you're also with INCX, right? So.
I am also with INCX in a different team, though. So you put it up on your billboard already. I'm working in my day job as a product manager for Sales Cloud. In that particular case, that's the customer relationship management offering that SAP has, and we're, so to say, we're the consumers of what Sven and his team are doing. We do have an existing product with an install base of customers already, and we're looking to improve that product on a daily basis. We want to make our product better for our customers, and for that we're looking for innovation and want to see what came out as a success out of incubation, and that's how we I guess work together for a lot of time. There's a few announcements coming later this year during CX Live and TechEd that influence Sales Cloud, that have an impact, that actually came out of the incubation team and will be available in Sales Cloud.
Okay, so if you can tell us a little bit from your both perspectives. You're both doing the podcast that is really around trends, really around technologies, and all the new things that are happening. What impact do you take from your podcast and your interview partners into your daily work, and how you consider to adapt this?
Mm-hmm. I can try and answer that. For me personally, I think there is no explicit answer to that question. There is very seldom there's an idea that is tangible that I can just take and transfer to my daily life. It's much more around extending the horizon, to get a broader horizon, to see what else is out there in the world and what else do other people do. It's just way too easy in your daily life, in daily operations, to fall for that fallacy, to continue doing what you did for all the time, and you never change, but you have to follow up. And I try to use that podcast and the LabTalk show to talk to people that are outside my daily job and that give me impulses and influences that just broaden my horizon in a nutshell. And
for me, I must
answer your
say,
question, there's most often there is something when you go back to your daily work, you have something in the back of your head. Oh, I talked to that guy that had this idea. Let's see whether we can apply that here. It's very not tangible, but the influences and the ideas, that is what qualifies, and that's what I consider important.
I agree to most of what you said, but sometimes there are these lucky moments that we really talk to someone like Lucas Vera, for example, on Wednesday. He's the founder of PoApp Studios, like a big player in the whole NFT customer engagement ecosystem that we maybe later also talk about. And he had and out of the private chats and the discussions on stage, I was really able to give some advice to our own steering when it comes to our own products, actually. So it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. It wouldn't happen if we would not go out there, basically, right? So
Andreas, same is true for the conversations around AI. There's a lot of positive and negative AI.
Yeah.
I took away quite a few ideas from LabTalk into my daily life. True.
I really like, Andreas, your definition of wider the horizon. It's not kind of like education, what in our debrief I was like asking, are you doing this to educate the people outside, inside SAP and outside about technology? And where you both said, oh, it's not like this. I really like this. Open the horizon, that people understand there's more available and around. So to get the impulse and coming back and say, oh, maybe this is a good idea to start internally to see how we can apply this to provide something more beneficial for the customer. I really like this definition there. But
I'm also quite interested in one topic, because in our first show we had Leslie from Nokia. She's the trend scout of Nokia, which basically helps Nokia to identify trends and try to develop products based on those trends. And you guys are doing some kind of the same roles. You're on the forefront, and Andreas, you're more on the reality side of things. And I think for our audience, maybe it's quite interesting. What is the strategy, or how far can you go from innovation, or how is the process inside of your company, and what backup did you get to do all this?
For CXII, so Intelligence Incubation, our little team, we have 3 work streams, and I think all these 3 work streams kind of were starting beginning of last year. And I can just now actually talk about NFT management, our kind of our NFT platform, non-fungible token platform. We had the first drops in July last year, and then we kind of did some customer facing drops in October. So that was super fast, but of course, the whole platform was not done. It's also right now not yet basically released to the customer, but we're very close. So we're hopefully going RTI, which means release to incubation. That means a first strategic customer could actually use us. We will give them access basically to our systems, and they can use it productively basically by end of this year. Yeah, so that's the speed we have, and I think that is a quite good speed actually for a big corporate like SAP in such an area.
Absolutely.
Like
so this
assets,
means within a year and a half, it's really it's really impressive to hear this, which I think everybody knows that corporates, specifically German companies, are not always linked directly with innovation. So it's great to hear that the process is first established and you have processes to do this, and it goes quite quickly. So really good to hear this.
Yeah. So,
And-
and you know, I guess sometimes that might apply to a lot of corporates. It takes a bit longer, but then on the other side, we also have like internal teams. So when it comes to AI, for example, that discuss a lot about AI ethics with us, for example. So it's like bringing something out quickly is the one thing, but if you in the end really realize that maybe you're not dealing properly with your customer data or you're exposing a risk and stuff like that, then this can backfire very quickly. So we have these discussions internally. So I'm really quite hopeful that whatever also comes out for generative AI, we do it properly and it's hopefully then consistent in the market. Yeah. So
my perspective is slightly different. I'm not on that green field. I do have a customer base. I have multiple thousand customers with hundreds of thousands of users. And in that environment, ideas are cheap and resources are limited. What my role involves a lot is trying to figure out out of all the ideas that we have, what is it that customers really want. And our improvement, our innovation is a lot more operational. Most of the time, of course, there's a lot of ideas that we're playing around with AI, and we're moving on. In particular, the communication part of things. There is plenty of ideas that we're also trying, but regular ideas most often involve customers voting on something, and we're trying to figure out how many users will really use a particular feature before we throw any resources at implementing or building a feature. So we're basically looking at the same thing and the same problem from two different angles.
So you are more looking at how it can be implemented to be a value for your customer, and Sven is more looking at what is technology-wise, trend-wise necessary to be on the top of all the trends around. So this means it's very important that you both have a good communication, or your both areas have a good communication. I think you already have a good communication, and in your podcast also helps probably to always see both angles, because I really like that we talk about the same topic, but everybody has this different view on the topic.
No, absolutely. If you think about it, like just within, if we take a trend topic like AI, you can come up with 1 million of use cases, and there's no doubt AI is trending. And I guess you're trying to find a handful of use cases within AI, and we're looking at those use cases. I'm trying to make that gesture to narrow that down out of all those cases within AI. What is it really that you can think of it as a funnel that comes down? Whereas I guess, Sven, you're at the broader end and I'm at the more narrow end of the same funnel.
How important do you feel that the both roles that you own are important for a company? I think, Andreas, you're so close. Your role is definitely exist at any company somehow, but having the openness with the podcast to look even on Sven's side, how would you think that it's important for most companies out there to do something similar, or to just basically copy strategies from you?
Difficult one. I mean, I guess it's undoubted. There's no question that innovation and the wheel of technology is accelerating. There is more technology, there is more innovation, there is more things come out. There is increasing number of trends. Like a year ago, AI came up. We have that hype cycle for blockchain, NFTs. The means to engage with your audience, with your customer base, becomes more complex and difficult. And the outer world that kind of mandates a product-based company to have an offering to keep up with the increasing speed of innovation. And there's multiple strategies to cope with that, to have this, to maintain this network and have this podcast and show. That's just one approach. There is, you just mentioned you were talking to a lady from Nokia. She's a trend scout. That's also something that we do have at SAP. In the SAP IO department. Those guys look into trends in the market. They go to fairs, they talk to startups that we also have. There is multiple angles to take it, that in the end, what is important to be aware of what's going on and to make an informed decision when it comes to innovation. Like, once again, coming back to that funnel, there is plenty of ideas, but what do you really do? That's the question that every company can answer for themselves in different approaches.
So it's not always important to follow every trend, but at least to understand that there are trends and then to pick what is necessary for your business. Yeah.
I would put it also this way, like my role is probably, you can probably get rid of that role for a couple of years, but then as a company, you will have at some point a big problem because you're missing out on some very big, broad trends that you just didn't see coming. And what you're working on is, of course, a bit more evolutionary innovations, I would say, that are more or less clear to the market that this will come, so it needs to be implemented. There's no doubt we need that, so we can't get rid of functions like that because it would directly affect the business, basically, right? So over in the end don't need it, right?
Okay, then let me make a shift to another mega trend that maybe is a little bit in the shadow of AI in the moment. And this was the trend of the Metaverse. Today it's called spatial computing. People call it Web 3.0, and then the EU called it Web 4.0. And I would like to know if you have, let's say, a definition. What is this Metaverse? Because originally it included all this technology somehow. And I would just want to know how your definition after a while and getting in so much touch, getting in touch with so much technology information, at least.
Yeah. So I tend to put the whole, the whole idea of the metaverse into, like, for me internally, in like 3 big buckets, basically, right? There's like the customer facing metaverse, which is all about, socializing, meeting people like you here for a podcast, and maybe also gaming and stuff like that. So that would be one bucket, basically. Then for me, there's this work bucket where we try to use the metaverse to meet people that are far away, improve our meetings. It's like a Teams plus. And then I think there's also the industrial metaverse, where it's really about getting some sensor data in, getting some actions out, controlling a plant that is complex. And because we are in this metaverse or industrial metaverse environment, we have benefits like being able to see if the machine is, at a glance, to see if the factory is operating correctly and stuff like that. So those are the 3 buckets I'm thinking of it right now. And the for me, sad thing since last year is a bit that we played a lot with Decentraland, which is one of these virtual reality or metaverses, basically, and it was very tied to blockchain and crypto. I think since this year, and since we have a little bit of a crypto winter again, basically nobody really talks about that. So I think we can probably also do metaverse without blockchain. I guess that's what Apple and others are doing these days.
Yeah.
Meta.
Andreas, do you have also some kind of definition for yourself from a more, let's say,
I'm not sure. I guess it's difficult to give a definition for the metaverse. To start with, I'm old enough to remember when Neil Stephenson called it the cyberspace, and the branding or the terminology went through a couple of iterations, and we arrived at metaverse or spatial computing. Let me start this way. I think it's called meta for a reason. It's somewhere in between. It's not the one thing that will replace everything else, but it will go on levels in between. It will open up means for communication. I think the one bucket that you were talking about, that industrial metaverse, that plays a huge role. We do see that already with customers for, say, machine maintenance. Also in my more immediate area, sales and service, it's means of communication where you can go stand in front of a virtual machine and point your finger at that one part at that machine that's malfunctioning. That's probably very difficult if you're on the phone and you don't have that visual communication to give eventually to the manufacturer that's 1,000 miles away. On the phone, you can't point your fingers. On the metaverse, you can say exactly, Sven, look at this part, and this is broken, and I need a replacement for that one. That gives you additional meta information in your communication to accelerate the process for service, so to say, and eventually also for sales to accelerate the maintenance process. That's one thing. But there's also the commercial metaverse where B2C type of interactions would happen, where you can go, say, try a dress, try a t-shirt before you buy and see how it looks in first place. Those are the use cases that I can imagine.
Going a little bit further, from the CX perspective, from the customer experience side, what do you expect to change with this trend, with the metaverse and all that stuff that maybe appears to be a part of it?
Yeah, so I think with CX, we're probably mainly in this consumer category, right? Because that affects our customers. So we need to be ready to basically, our customers need to be ready to deal with their customers in the metaverse. Let's put it that way. I think I see it as an extra channel. Yeah, so just it's an extra channel. So we have mobile, we have all the desktop part and the web part, basically, right? And now we also have the metaverse, which in the end there will be customers. There will be customers looking at products and services. There will be service requests. People will be looking for help and stuff like that. So that is a huge new opportunity actually for everything in customer experience. And I guess when it comes to the industrial metaverse, it's also a topic, I guess. But it maybe affects SAP as a bigger mothership, basically, a bit more, I would say. And for the work part, right, I believe we're all affected because now we're having a podcast in VR here, right? So which is our work to some degree, and this is shifting, yeah. So
yeah, and I must say, I really like the example that Andreas mentioned regarding the industrial metaverse, because when you were summarizing this bucket, I was thinking in my mind, like, okay, it sounds more like IoT, like getting data out, but Andreas directly added the value of customer, or pointing on something to have a value add, to say this part is broken and please replace this, and help to understand that customer knows service topics, etc. So again, it's I really enjoy it. Your combination is always like, it's great. The one is the technology driven, and Andreas always comes with grounding use cases where you see directly a value. So I really like this, because it's the one thing is really technology, and the other thing is like, hey, here's a value for the human.
I might add something to that actually for that maintenance use case that you just brought up, right? So let's say there's some big coffee machine or some printing press is out of function, and then you could imagine going into the metaverse, and then with a remote assistant you try to fix the machine or something like that. I was just thinking, this could also be done with some augmented reality overlay and a big iPad screen, for example, right? And then I was actually, the next thing I was thinking is now with all the announcements from Apple actually and spatial computing, maybe there's a fluid connection between, for example, looking at the machine, which is halfway in real life, and augmenting something like an information where to click next or what to pull out, basically, right? And then you would then completely go into a VR world with this little toggle that you have, hopefully on the right hand side, I believe, of this Vision Pro. So to then have a better, more private discussion with someone who's remote with you, and then you go back into the AR world to again fix something. So I think this will be, we'll see what happens, right? But I think there will be a fluid connection.
I agree. There is this issue once again. There's plenty of ideas we can think about. Whatever technology will make happen, but we need to be careful and observe what the customer base will adopt in first place. Like, what like, of course, AR, VR, this and that use case, but what is it really that people want that we need to figure out, and that time will tell, and we need to be watching closely while we go.
Absolutely. I have on my list, because I know that you have done some research on it, or at least get involved in the concept. What do you think about digital assistants? Maybe today digital assistants are mostly voice bots. Do you think that they will become avatars anytime soon, or do you think they will be more splitted and be little parts in already existing platforms or applications? Or what will they be good for from what you have experienced, or what you have been going through as in ideations yet?
I think the bigger topic here is generative AI, and how does generative AI influence, let's say, digital assistants, chatbots, and other things. And I think that this will have a huge impact on how we actually operate our business tools, I would say, right? So from a sales and service perspective, or someone who's operating the commerce cloud or a commerce system backend, basically, while you previously had to click here and there and do stuff to kind of change your product catalog, you will probably in future be able, now let's think about an analysis across your product catalog or something like that. You will just be able to initially maybe write that as a prompt, and then based on your customer's data basically and your product catalog, it will get you the result that you kind of describe in a normal language, right? So just give me the last quarters, what are top performing products in the whatever segment, 20 to 25 years old or so, and this will probably work. And then I think voice for me is an addition to that. That will just kind of, because voice and natural language processing is very good. It will be basically on top of that, and then we will just talk to these systems in the end. Yeah.
What I feel will be the natural extension to what we have already. Just again, looking at the existing product base, chatbots have been in the market for many, many years now. That's not a new invention. We've been talking to bots, trying to give you that feeling you're talking to a real service agent. There's these chat windows that are around for at least a decade already that try to give you that feeling you're talking to a real person. It's not very good that generative AI does improve the quality to that to a huge extent. It feels much more natural if you chat with that virtual agent. And now the next thing I can entirely imagine to happen, that you can do the same thing on the phone, and that will cross that uncanny valley. You won't have that feeling you're talking to a machine anymore. That will improve quality-wise a lot. And then literally next evolution, I can totally imagine you do that talking to a virtual person, just like we're here. I wouldn't know you guys are real as of today. I think generative AI can do that today.
No, nobody can talk this crazy stuff like we four here. So don't go this route.
In such broken English.
Yeah.
One addition
is
to
an
the
improvement to that.
What I believe about the digital assistant, what has really changed though, that's maybe a big important difference to, like, let's say a year ago or so, is how I think, and that's the holy grail, I believe, of digital assistants, is how do you get your own customers' data, your own valuable data into the processing pipeline, basically, right? So, because right now you can ask ChatGPT, what does it mean? What does uncanny valley mean, for example, right? It will give you an explanation of what the uncanny valley is, basically, right? But you cannot ask it, for example, summarize the top 10 customers of the last quarter, because for that you would need private information that is typically in your private database. And that's one of the recent learnings that I had, actually, is that's where vector databases, and that's why companies such as SAP, actually, right, have quite a big benefit, because we are operating on a lot of our customers' data, of course, right? And using that data as part of a large language model for digital assistant, that is the holy grail. And that is, I think, what is really, really powerful versus just reformatting my document or my thesis or stuff like that. Right?
Mhm. Okay. We now have very different perspectives on AI, but mostly it's like you asked the AI to give some kind of feedback and to summarize something. How would you expect in the near future that the AI can give you recommendations that are actually good and not only ideas from out of the blue, and really help you to manage your business? And then maybe the next step, even take responsibility for some parts of your business.
Mm-hmm. So my point of view is when it comes to recommendation parts, we're very close to that actually, right? Because once you connected the AI to your own data, then you will be able to ask the large language model, what are the top features of this product, for example, based on comments that we have, right, in our system, and it will extract the right comments, and you will be able to augment your product catalog and your product descriptions with that. So I think that is quite close. We're there yet, basically. Right?
Mhm. Well, I'm just thinking about a quick quote that I heard when I listened to Klaus Neumeier and our SAP Labs International head of SAP Labs International. He was in Munich, and obviously they also spoke around AI. And the one example, the one quote that sticks in my mind is that story about if you ask if Gen AI existed during the time of Galileo Galilei, if you ask that AI whether the Earth is flat, that AI would have given you an answer, yes, of course, the Earth is flat, because that was the assumed fact by that time, and all the information you could have fed into that AI would have proven that the Earth is flat. Now, with all the fact and all the oversight that SAP has and all the talent on top of everything, we can make AI a tool and make sure to avoid bias and to avoid say under-engineered use of AI. We can make sure AI can also give recommendations that are outside the expected. And I guess that's where the real value for SAP customers is in the way we think about the use of AI. We can make sure the product, the AI recommendations are not biased and really can consider a much broader set of insight than just the user itself. And again, coming back to that idea from earlier, to consider a broader horizon.
Yeah.
Okay, then next.
I'm still learning something new. The Earth is not flat, so I'm really shocked right now. So
Yeah.
Oh,
By the way,
you were in that group.
Rolf is a flat earther. He usually is making YouTube videos on flat earth. No, just joking. But it's not only AI
The moon
that
is
is
made of cheese on top of everything.
Yes. It's not only AI that is one trend topic in the moment. It's also sustainability. And in the prep talk, you told us a little bit that this is one of the biggest parts that you're just implementing in your system, that it becomes easier to have all the return ways. Can you maybe give us a little insight on what you do, why you do it, and what is the benefit in the end for your customers?
Yeah. So re-commerce, right?
Yes.
I would maybe first quickly say that we're just in the customer experience area here, which basically deals with returning products to a commerce process, I would say, right? But then, of course, SAP as a big ERP provider, we're looking into supply chains and how to kind of surface the amount of CO2 that basically was created along the supply chain for a certain production process and stuff like that. That's all happening, of course, at the mothership at SAP. But our little work stream at CX Intelligence Incubation was called Recommerce, basically, or is now called Recommerce, and it's basically an add-on to our commerce offering. And it simply means that you as a customer can take photos of a used product that you've once purchased with a brand, and you can return it back to the seller, back to the brand, and they will take it. They will investigate what it's still worth. Basically, you will get store credit, and then it will actually be sold again, basically, or it will be remade basically into a new product. And all these processes, right? And what are the things to follow basically on the back end side when someone receives it in the warehouse, and how do you determine which level of quality it still has? All that stuff is basically part of that offering, and this is now being rolled out. It's live actually. It was announced. It can be added to every commerce cloud offering in the market, and I think this will really have a huge impact on reusing products essentially. Yeah.
Okay, so meaning in the future, or maybe now as well, computer vision can take a big part of, for example, estimating the value or the status of the returned item, and can optimize these processes. Another question that is in my mind is, because we're talking a lot about circular economy right now, and I know that SAP is also a platform provider. Are you also planning or taking a look inside how you can, for example, connect different suppliers of those return ways of recycling and so on, to the whole circular economy part?
Yeah, so I think, Andreas, I'm sure if you would have said the same, basically. I think this is more a topic that's really happening at SAP basically as a whole, right? Not so much in our CX area, because this is really talking about the supply chain, and then dealing with let's say reusing material that has been used for products and feeding them back into a circular process. Of course, there are solutions like Green Token, for example, that make it easy to track resources across the supply chain. And then I think there's other solutions that basically try to make the most out of the returned material, basically. In CX, this is really our Recommerce is basically our main focus right now, which is just dealing with these commerce or with these e-commerce flows, I would say, and processes. But SAP as a whole is also dealing a lot with that. Yeah.
Okay, and now you came up with one word, and this was token. We made a little setup here, and this is basically what Sven told in the beginning. We have the slot of the industrial metaverse, which is somehow including a digital twin. It's including Industry 4.0, but it's also including the networking between different companies. Then we have the gap between. This is basically where we humans somehow meet and interact with each other. And we have the end product. And Sven, you started with you came up with the token. And I know that you're really deep inside the blockchain technologies and using NFTs for different topics. And as the whole blockchain is not in a good light today, I just want to know, what are you doing? Why are you doing it with blockchain? And what has changed in the blockchain so that it's maybe, are we still talking about the technology that takes a lot of energy, resources, and it's basically a waste of everything? Or
That's a
where
good
are
point,
good cases?
Yeah, so let me first say, actually, one of our work streams deals with NFTs and creating NFTs as a platform, basically, and offering this to our customers. And that is probably the most radical and the most brave bet we're placing, right? So it's not as clear as Recommerce, where we need sustainability, basically. It's not as clear as the whole generative AI and assistant space, like everybody knows it works, basically, right? So the whole NFT space basically is a bit a bet to some degree, basically, because we're you're really being quite risky, I would say. But to your question, when it comes to blockchains and energy usage, I first would like to say that most blockchains by now have really moved to proof of who have moved away basically from proof of work, and they move to proof of stake, right? So that kind of means there's no energy wasted. You don't need to burn your CPUs for needless number counting and coming up with the next number. The only blockchain that's really left that's wasting energy is actually Bitcoin. And there will probably be a few more that are similar to Bitcoin, but they are not very important these days. And to be honest with you, you also can't stop them, because if there are a couple of people on this planet that want to operate them, then it's going to happen, right? The blockchain that we're using for our own NFT management is Polygon, which is a very energy-friendly blockchain. They even try to offset the remaining energy that's being wasted basically with credits. We all know that carbon credits are not exactly working well, but at least they are trying. And proof of stake, seriously, it kind of, you can operate a node of that blockchain on a Raspberry Pi in the end. Okay, so it's like consuming very little power and still gives you all these benefits basically of a blockchain. Yeah.
Okay. And
that's
why
where we're
blockchain and not another technology? This is also something that always comes across when talking or blaming this technology.
Yeah. So we believe in the end, and that's why we created our NFT management solution, that customer engagement and customer loyalty and some of the other aspects of the CX universe could fundamentally change, right? And it's mostly about ownership. So we believe that customers at some point will really mandate to take full ownership of some of the assets. So let's say a voucher that you get from a loyalty system, for example, to redeem a product or something like that, or to get a product cheaper, or even your kind of collectibles, right? Art collectibles or other things. The customers, the underlying idea is that the customers really demand full ownership. Because when you really think about ownership these days, when you, for example, listen to music or you buy a video that you watch with your wife at night or something like that, you just buy the access of one of these big players like, Netflix, Google, Amazon, and so on, basically, right? But you're not really buying the asset, and you cannot really take ownership. With NFTs, it would really mean that you, for example, purchase a piece of music, and when you're done listening, you could put it onto a marketplace and you could resell it, just like you sold your old CDs, basically, right? And that's a bit, I guess, the bet we're placing is that basically the customers will, in the end, demand a higher level of ownership than it is today. And if that is the case, then NFTs, non-fungible tokens, are just the perfect way to kind of represent digital assets owned by a consumer.
Okay. Andreas has moved out already because we are a little short on time. Oh,
no, I'm still here.
You're still there.
No, I'm still here. But you're right.
Okay. At least I need to get some power for my headset in a few seconds.
So that means, Sven, we're close for our advertisement.
Yeah, you're close. Yeah. But I just wanted to the audience a little bit about why are we talking about these different technologies and hopping between them. And this is basically, we haven't talked about the digital twin yet, but we talked about the metaverse, and the metaverse in total somehow incorporates all this. And you have the machinery that needs to be operated, that needs to be also monitored, but also be sold in the end to different platform owners. And then you have the end product, which is the little tiny robot on Rolf's feet. Yes, which also can have a digital twin and be part of the entire metaverse thing. And I think it's quite important to understand that it's a technology stack, and you need to think about which parts of technologies come together in your future products, if they're physical or if they're digital.
As this is a really nerdy talk with a lot of stuff where I have not really full understanding, I would like to introduce everybody your favorite topic of NFTs. And therefore, we simply, if Andreas. So now we are to the favorite part, the advertisement. And please make sure you explain everybody, and please, the audience, listen. And don't make the mistakes like I did. I didn't listen, and therefore I was suffering. About now, up to you, Sven, for your NFT pitch.
Thank you so much, Rolf. So I'm really thrilled to give you a little demo of how SAP NFT management works from a really customer perspective in this case. Of course, we have created an NFT collection with our very own platform with NFT management. You see the QR code on the side here. And if you want to snag one of our very unique NFTs for the Rolf and Seb Show, we have our own artwork that we created, right, just for this show here, our own collection. All you have to do is really scan the QR code, put down your email address and accept terms and conditions, and boom, you will get your unique mint link that you can use to claim one of our NFTs. And that's how easy it is claim an NFT with SAP NFT management, because at this point you can claim it without having a wallet and without having crypto whatsoever. But of course, once you claimed and once you understand Web3, once you understand a little bit about private and public keys and wallets and stuff like that, then there's an FAQ section. You can always transfer your NFT to your own non-custodial wallet. So it's really fully yours. And I'm so happy that we were able to contribute something to this awesome show here. With our SAP NFT management platform. Thank you, Rolf.
Yeah, and I can confirm it's really as simple as you described. The only thing, I made a mistake, so don't follow it. Read the FAQ, how to get it in your wallet. If you would read this, it's just another some clicks, and then you have it really in the wallet. So I'm really thankful and thrilled to have an own special Rolf and Seb Show NFT. Claim it, make sure you got it, because it will be worth a lot in the future, I hope.
Let me give the audience maybe one final tip, okay? In our FAQ, in our own FAQ, I think for a long time, we really told everybody, get MetaMask as one of these favorite wallets that you can get in the Web3 space. By now, I think people should get something like Coinbase wallet, for example. It's just way easier to use. And once you've transferred your NFT over to your own private wallet, to your own public address in your wallet, basically, go to OpenSea, log in, and don't forget to also check the hidden collection, because all the NFTs that are typically dropped onto a wallet, they're by default hidden. So they're not becoming part of your public profile. So you need to unhide them. Okay, that's just 2 more tips basically for people to get started. But then, hey, maybe this is your first digital asset. Congrats.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Sven. So let's go back and hop to Seb and Andreas. And thank you for preparing this for our show. Hey, let's go.
Thank you.
We are back from our advertisement space, and really thank you, Sven, giving everybody a bit insight. And I have learned a lot, and I'm so happy that in my wallet I have at least already some cool NFTs in. Yay!
Yeah. I always come with one last question, and this is: could you paint us a picture? How does the digital or hybrid world looks like from your perspective, what you have learned about technologies in the next, let's say, 5 years, 5 to 10 years?
Andreas, you will start, and then
let me start. Well, predictions are difficult all the time. Yes, in particular when it's about the future, right? But the next 5 years, all these technologies and trends that we touched on today, none of them are going away. In particular, this blockchain and that hype cycle, there's a lot of controversy around, but nonetheless, reality shows us this is not going away. The same for AI, the same for what we today call the Metaverse, that will prevail in one way or another. We will see more of those use cases. We will see technology, in particular that Apple announcement that we discussed with Rolf in our show, that will give another spin to that whole story. And what we'll also see is we'll see those technologies converge. The use cases that we discussed before, like the metaverse for sales and service processes, will only work if there is some sort of digital ownership, and there is what we haven't talked about, but a digital twin that exists in this industrial metaverse. And where there is this metaverse where people can own individual items. So that I'm pretty sure will happen. And ownership also in the B2C space, people will want to own music or videos or images, everything they consume, everything shifted from physical ownership, CDs, DVDs, to streaming services. And I'm pretty sure we'll see some shift back to ownership that will most likely be digital. Sustainability plays a huge role. We will see how those assets can be returned, physical and digital. And I'm curious to see how all of this plays out. To sum it up.
Honestly, I would basically say the same, but I'm kind of trying to come to the end of these 5 years, probably, right? And then maybe paint a picture how I see the future, how we work and live basically at the end of these 5 years. With Apple giving us the Vision Pro headset, probably somewhere around next year, I guess a lot of early adopters will get it, will use it. And I think in a 5 years time, there will be a couple of iterations of that headset. It might have come down to the consumer market and to more work areas. And I think we will see that some of us will gradually replace our existing workstations and workplaces also with the headset, right? So instead of using my big screen and my keyboard, I might just type on any screen and just put on the headset and be wherever I want to be and have a huge screen with all my Excel, Word, and whatever documents there. And that's probably the future. That's just the spatial computing part. Then for blockchain, I believe we will see a continued evolution. Actually, there might be another hype or not. I don't believe there will be a big revolution suddenly. I don't think we will see that happening, but it will also, as you said, it will not go away. And I believe it will gradually actually become more important until suddenly it's too late. And if you're not using it, then you're left behind. And with Gen AI, I think it has taken the world by storm. And if you're not using Gen AI basically and all these AI tools at the end of these next 5 years, then you probably don't have a job anymore, because it will have a huge impact on the metaverse, because we will use it to generate 3D assets and maybe even worlds and places to meet. Actually, we'll just describe where we want to meet whom, basically. It will just happen, basically. And also for all other areas like blockchain and optimizing processes inside of your company, everything, it will play a huge role, because this is all being worked on right now, and all these tools that so far have been quite manual and cumbersome will at some point be automated. It's just a question of describing the process, for example, in some kind of language or format, and then having an AI optimize it, basically.
I'm really looking forward to in 5 years to see, and then we will review what we have stated today and make tick boxes if what has happened, if our prediction was correct or not. So I think we are really at the end of our session. So if it's okay for you, I want to give you a summary of what I'm taking out of today's session. So the first thing I really like, it's very important not to be educated, to keep your mind open about trends and technology, to really, and I really can emphasize, make sure you have a good combination of one who's looking from the technology side and one who's looking from, where is this giving and value add for my daily business and my customer? Because I think then at the end, the product will be really useful. We don't need something that everybody says it's a cool technology, but nobody can really see it as a value. I also understand that it's very important for every business to be open to look in trends, simply not to miss a trend. Doesn't mean that every trend will be a success at the end, but at least look at it, get used to it, and see what potential use cases are. And nobody knows exactly what in 5 years will be, but a lot of the technology trends who has been emerged the past years will stay. But how it will be implemented, I'm really looking forward to see in 5 years how, if we will be here, or if we send our AI bot and say, hey, have a cool chat with Seb, Andreas, and Sven, and I can continue with some others. We have no idea. So I'm really looking forward to this. Again, thank you both to be here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us. See you in 5 years, I
Perfect.
guess.
No,
I probably will see us earlier. So, but definitely we will do a session in 5 years again.
Awesome. But you also,
my
he
digital
wants
agent
to
over.
clone himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
You also. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So let's close the show for today.
Thank you.
See you next time.